Hey, it's Chris from Chris Does Everything. This is a 1940s Delta DP220 drill press that I bought at an estate sale. I was going to restore it, but it turns out that under all that gunk, it's so clean, I'm just going to refurb it instead. Let's take a look and see how that process goes.
Hey guys, so what we're looking at here are most of the parts to a 1944 Delta drill press that I bought at an estate sale a few months back. And I've been trying to decide what I'm going to do with this and in terms of restoration. And I really just came to the conclusion that I'm not going to restore it. I'm simply going to clean it up, leave it original, and use it. And you might ask, well, why'd you come to that decision, Chris? So just out here fooling around with it. This is the table, a little bit dirty. However, it looks like original paint under there. And if you flip it around and look at the other side, where I just cleaned it, that's the original finish. Look at that. That's unbelievable. So, restore this? Absolutely not. I'm going to clean it up and bring it back to its original glories. Even more astonishing than the table that I just showed you. This is the belt cover. This is what it looked like when I picked it up. This is the result of 2 minutes worth of effort. A little purple power mixed with water and light abrasive. You'd have to be insane to do anything other than clean this thing up, maybe clear coat it, and just preserve it for another 75 years. This is a 1944 piece of equipment. This is when people were not fooling around when it came to tools. Here's the actual press assembly. After 2 minutes worth of effort, you can see the incredible original paint underneath there. I'm going to try to clean this side up just a little bit and avoid that decal because I want to leave that alone. Here's the pull. Holds everything together. The top and the bottom, a little bit more rust. Again, just surface rust. Note to any of you guys embarking on one of these projects, taking it apart was challenging. I had to take my angle grinder and just clean up the edge in order to get it to go through the base. I'm gonna sand this sucker down, clean it up. These are what the bolts look like holding it together. In fact, this one was bent quite a bit. Impact gun and a couple of minutes took those off. Note to anybody doing that, so I put a wrench on one side that I thought was supported, didn't hit it with my impact, and the wrench came off and whacked me right in the head. Not a good move. Anyway, let's get to cleaning this thing up. This is the underside of the drill press stand. Don't think I have a before pick, but all I did on this was scrape off the surface rust, hit it with a wire brush, get as much as I possibly could off. I treated some of the remaining surface rust with Rust-Oleum rust encapsulator, let that dry, and then just hit it with some gloss black rust-proof paint I have laying around, only to protect it. This doesn't show. You know, if you wanted to in the future, you could easily sandblast all of this off back to the original metal. But you know, sitting out here in my shop, every once in a while I get a little bit of condensation. Sitting on the floor, just wanted some protection. So bottom side painted, top side's gonna be whatever it comes out like. And here's what it looks like from the top after a light cleaning. Doesn't have the same amount of patina, or at least is not as nice as the other pieces, but it's the base. So my expectation on this is I'm gonna clean it up and clear coat it and leave it as is. This area I'm gonna see if I can get back down to more of a, you know, bright machined looking surface. And here's the base after masking off this surface and just hitting it with clear. So in this light, you can see what's left of that original patina. And this I cleaned as best as I could. I hit it with, you know, soap and water, some oil remover, and then finally with Eastwood Pre to remove the bulk of the 70 years of grease. And this thing is basically ready to go back together. Got the pole sitting over here relatively cleaned up. And the mounting bolts, when I took this thing apart, I had to use my impact. I had a wrench holding the nut on one side and let go for a second, and of course the wrench came screaming off and bounced off of the side of my head. Some guys would try to restore that. Here's my answer to that. We're gonna go with new hardware. And this is the part that holds the pole. Cleaned it up, just put some Rust-Oleum on it, and this should be good for another 70 years. So here's the actual drill press table. with the necessary arc of shame. Here's the piece that attaches to the pole. Look at that. That is original paint. It's just unbelievable. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm gonna leave that alone. Maybe clear it, maybe not. So I'm trying to decide what to do with this. So I do it. Do I break out the MIG and try to fill these in, or do I just JB weld it, because I really don't care what it looks like. Well, I do care what it looks like. I'm gonna have a vise on top of this anyway. I just cannot stand those holes. I don't think this is character. I think it reflects that some character had a lot of fun with this. And I'm guessing it wasn't the guy that I got it from. Typically, I remember when I went to a vocational high school, a lot of our drill presses looked like this. But not the kind of thing you would expect a craftsman to do. So in any case, I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try the simple route. I took my Dremel, a little wire brush on it, and I cleaned out all of these holes, and I blew them out with some brake clean and compressed air. And I still have a little bit of cleaning to do, but I'm gonna give the JB Weld a shot. So here we are with a little JB Weld in that arc of shame. Gonna have to do that a couple of times because it shrinks. I did this last night. It's been sitting out here in the shop where it's cold, so I think I'm gonna bring it in and put it on my workbench in the basement to get to the point where this is done. Then we'll clean this top up, do all of the sanding at the same time, and see what it looks like when we're done. This is the part that it mounts to, which is in ridiculously nice condition. We're gonna clean that up and maybe shoot it with some clear. All right, so just a little bit of fooling around got us to this stage. And I'm gonna have to lift it back up now and secure the bottom, but so far so good. Went back together a lot easier than it came apart. So here we are at the underside. Got the pole just a little bit less than flush with the bottom. This is the piece that holds it on. Left the inside alone. Love the fact that all of these pieces have got the part number stamped into them. And this is just a matter of putting this back together with my new hardware. So let's give that a shot. It originally didn't have washers on this side. I prefer to use them. All right, so to tighten all of this stuff up again, I'm gonna not go with the impact gun, just do it by hand. And you'll see throughout my projects, I've got quite the assortment of tools, things that I've gathered since I was a kid. You know, regular US-made Craftsman wrenches. And I've literally had some of these for 40 years or more. I'm gonna use here a Husky ratcheting wrench. Not the same quality, but certainly not bad. And then I've got this unbranded offset made in the USA wrench. I mean, I'm guessing these are from the 50s. Got them at a tag sale for 10 bucks and they work really well. Especially for an application like this. All right, so here we have a good step one. Base back together, pole cleaned up. And when I say cleaned up, I took the surface rust off of it and just oiled it up. I don't want it to look like a showpiece because that's not the point of doing this. And got the bottom back together like we just saw. I mean, in this light, you can check out that patina. Come on, how cool is that? I've oiled up the bare metal piece, and I'm going to put a light coat of wax on that to keep it from rusting. And we're going to move on to the next part. All right, so here we've got part number DP204, which holds the drill press table. So the pole slides up and down. Here's that mechanism. This is a little bit rusty, so this is just meant to be steel. This looks like painted black. We're going to see how well that cleans up. I really don't want to paint it. My door just blew open. Windy today. You got to remember to bolt that, latch that man door. So this thing, I've cleaned it already. Again, killer patina. I'm going to just lightly go over some of the really dirty spots with some fine steel wool, and then just get this thing ready to clean it one last time with prep and finally clear it. So I'm going to be really careful. Sometimes I like to do this with a little bit of WD-40 for lube. And again, this is 70-year-old paint, so I'm not going at it too hard. Just want to make sure that, you know, the bulk of any dirt and grease is off, so that when we clear it, the clear will stick. And any of the, you know, little chips and things along those lines, we're going to leave. And believe it or not, there really is not a lot of cleaning necessary. Right, so in some cases you're kind of down to the little bit of wear, down to the bare metal here and there. Not an issue. This is one of those pieces that is just so nice the way that it is. I hesitate to do anything other than clean it and clear it. So if you're like me, you've got a box full of Dremel stuff. These are interesting tools. I had one of these when I was a kid, didn't use it for too much of anything. And then once I started to get into restoration, I find it almost indispensable. This is a model 3000. It's 15 or 20 years old. I recently put a new switch in it. And it just continues to run. But the beauty of the Dremel is, you know, over time you accumulate all kinds of crazy bits for it. I don't even know what this is, this little wheel here. It's mildly abrasive. I don't think I've ever used it, but I'm going to see what it does on some of these just little dirty spots. And of course, before I do that, I need to put on my safety glasses. Okay, let's see what this does. That was actually pretty good. So all I wanted to do is kind of just get into some of these little spots that I'm having problems getting the dirt out of, and it did that quite nicely. I'm going to call all the rest of this patina and good enough, and I'm going to take it in the house, clean it up, and shoot it with some clear. And when I say take it in the house, so in my basement I have another workbench that I use when it's just too cold to come out here for projects that I need to do indoors in the winter. I've got my heater running It's about 35 degrees outside. With the wind chill, it's about 25. That's why the door keeps blowing open. In here, it's probably close to 50 at the minute, but this has only been running for a little while. So in any case, easy piece to do. We'll come back and take a look at this and get this thing cleared. All right, so on this little handle, which has got just some surface rust on it, let's take a closer look. You don't want to get too crazy, so for me, not too crazy. I've got a little bit of Mother's mag wheel polish here, and then I've also got Quick Blow, which I use on chrome, aluminum, brass. This is a little bit more aggressive. I'm just going to hit this with a little bit of this. Sometimes it doesn't take a lot to clean these surfaces up. And again, I don't want it to look new, right? If I have to paint this, it's going to look out of place with everything else. So the more we can just clean it and then protect it, the better we're going to be. And I can tell you, sometimes things just work out. And so that's, I'm coming back behind the camera here so we can see. Right, that's just, what, a minute's worth of effort? Looks fantastic, right? Character, but not rusty. All right, so slightly more abrasive wheel on the drum. So when I say slightly more abrasive, you know, not a metal wheel, but this is just a little fiber wheel. The one that I just took off, you saw me a minute ago run it against my finger. It didn't do anything. This one has a little bit of cut to it. I don't think I want to do that. And let's just see if it polishes this up a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but I think I'm going to call this good. So now we're back to basically the original piece. You know, I could get a lot crazier with this thing, put it on a real buffing wheel, I think, and make it look new, but that would be out of character. So taking a look. If we go back to the beginning, I mean, this is now a heck of a lot better, and it'll go with the character of the machine. And like everything else, I'm just going to shoot it with a little bit of clear, tack it up a little bit so that it sticks, but just to kind of keep it looking like this. So at this point in time, we've got the base and the pole ready to go. I've got the table in the house with the JB Weld. I gotta finish that and get that done. And then the last major piece before I can actually start to rebuild this, because this is the actual head of the drill press. And this will give you a little idea. This is basically what the machine, the entire machine looked like when I got it, right? It's just DP220, you know, dirty, messy, ugly. And then here you can see I started to clean up a little bit. It's like, wow, look at all of that cool paint over there. So this thing needs some serious cleaning. Serial number tag is in fantastic condition. This sadly is shot. This is the It's a patent number sticker, so it had a whole bunch of patent numbers on it. Sadly, it's literally falling apart on there, so I was debating, well, geez, what do I do? You know, do you leave it like this and clear over it? Do I just take it off because the paint under there is perfect? And it's amazing to see that the paint under that decal and the paint on the body of the machine are basically the same color. That the grease and oil just protected this thing for years and years and years. And luckily, nobody, you know, hit it with a spray can or a brush over all of those 70 years. However, I did find a replacement sticker, and it's in my house, so I'm going to go grab it and we'll take a look. But I think what I'm going to do is take this off, put the new sticker on when I'm done, and clear over that. You know, I was thinking I was going to make one epic, non-stop drill press redo video. However, I may do this in 2 pieces. So we may say, hey, this is the end of part 1, and part 2 is going to get everything else done and back together. So if I post this and this is the end, then stay tuned for part 2.